The first time Emily saw the blood on the floor, she thought it was juice. The thick, dark red liquid glistened under the weak hallway light, leading from the stairs toward the kitchen, where the bulb flickered like a dying heartbeat. Her chest tightened as her fingers trembled around the flashlight. The baby monitor on the counter hissed with static before going completely silent. The silence felt heavier than sound. She swallowed hard and whispered, "Mrs. Carter?" No one answered. Then came the sound tap, tap, tap. Soft, slow footsteps on the wooden floor above her. The air felt colder. The walls seemed to breathe. Emily's shaking hand reached for her phone, but the screen showed no signal. She looked up the staircase. "Liam?" she called softly, hoping the toddler was just awake. The baby monitor blinked back on, showing something moving in the nursery. Something that wasn't Liam. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Just 6 hours earlier, the world had seemed normal. Emily had been smiling awkwardly on the porch of the Carters' large suburban home, holding her backpack and trying not to seem nervous. "Thank you again for watching Liam," Mrs. Carter said. "He's already asleep. Easy night." Mr. Carter stood beside her, expression unreadable, hands buried deep in his coat pockets. He gave Emily a nod that lasted too long before he turned and walked toward the car. The house was perfect in that magazine way: white furniture, spotless floors, family photos on every wall, but there was something cold about it. The air inside felt still, like no one had breathed there in days. Emily brushed the feeling off as new job nerves. The Carters had paid her well, and she needed the money. By 9, the night was quiet. Liam was asleep upstairs. Emily sat on the couch with popcorn, watching TV. Then she heard it faint crying. It came from the hallway. She frowned, turning down the volume. The monitor showed Liam still asleep. So where was the sound coming from? She stood and listened harder. The crying stopped. She chuckled nervously. "Okay, I'm just tired." But as she turned back toward the couch, she froze. The front door was wide open. Cold air poured in, making the curtains flutter. Her pulse raced as she ran over and slammed it shut. She double-checked the locks 3 times before stepping back, staring at the door like it might open again on its own. She tried calling Mrs. Carter, straight to voicemail. "Hi, it's Emily. Everything's fine. Just checking in," she lied. The next hour passed slowly. Midnight crept closer. The baby monitor flickered, the image turning grainy. Emily leaned closer. Liam was sitting up in his crib, facing the corner of the room. His little voice broke the silence. "Mommy?" Emily smiled softly. "It's okay, Liam. Go back to sleep." But then he said something that made her blood freeze. "She's in the closet." The smile vanished from Emily's face. "Who's in the closet?" she whispered. The monitor crackled. For a split second, she saw the closet door in Liam's room slowly creak open. A dark figure stepped out. Her stomach dropped. She grabbed the flashlight and started up the stairs, the steps groaning under her feet. The closer she got to the nursery, the stronger the smell of iron blood became. The trail led from the crib to the hallway. Her beam shook across the walls. Something whispered her name. Emily spun around. Nothing. Then the monitor screamed with static, and a pale face flashed across the screen smiling, watching her. The tapping upstairs grew louder. Tap, tap, tap. She reached the nursery door, heart slamming against her ribs. Her trembling hand turned the knob and pushed it open. The crib was empty. The closet door was wide open. And then a soft voice whispered right behind her ear. "Why did you lock the door, Emily?" Her flashlight dropped, rolling across the floor as something icy brushed her arm. Emily froze. The voice was soft, too soft, like a whisper from someone standing just inches behind her. Every hair on her body stood on end. She didn't want to turn around, but her trembling hands slowly moved anyway. The flashlight rolled against the wall, casting spinning shadows across the nursery. No one was there. Her heart pounded so loud it drowned out her thoughts. "Liam," she whispered again, her voice breaking. The crib was still empty. The closet door, half open, seemed to breathe with the darkness behind it. Emily crouched to grab the flashlight, the beam quivering as she aimed it toward the closet. "Hello?" she said, barely audible. Nothing answered. For a moment, she thought she saw something move, a flicker of white fabric. Maybe, but when she blinked, it was gone. She backed away, trying to think. He's 2 years old. He couldn't have gone far. She turned and hurried into the hallway, calling, "Liam! Sweetheart, where are you?" Her footsteps echoed against the wooden floor. Halfway down the hall, she spotted something small lying near the stairs, Liam's stuffed rabbit. She picked it up, her hands shaking. The toy was damp, the fur sticky. When she lifted it closer to the light, her breath caught. It wasn't juice, it was blood. Emily stumbled backward, nearly dropping the toy. "Oh God," she whispered. She wanted to run out the front door, but something in her gut told her not to. Something felt wrong, like the house itself was watching her. Then the baby monitor in her end crackled back to life. Static hissed, followed by Liam's voice, faint but clear. "Downstairs," he said. "Come play, Emily." Her knees went weak. Liam could barely speak full sentences. And how did he know her name? She forced herself down the staircase, step by trembling step. The living room lights flickered as she passed. The air grew colder with each step until her breath came out in white puffs. When she reached the bottom, she noticed the front door again. It was unlocked. She was sure she'd locked it. She grabbed the handle, ready to run. But then, through the crack of the open kitchen door, she saw movement, a shadow shifting. "Liam?" she called, her voice shaking. No answer. Her flashlight beam wobbled as she walked into the kitchen. The refrigerator hummed softly. The trail of blood led to the back door, which stood slightly ajar. Emily's pulse raced as she stepped closer. Her hand reached out to push it shut, and then it slammed by itself with a deafening bang. She screamed and stumbled backward, falling against the counter. The lights flickered violently, and a picture frame on the wall crashed to the floor, the glass shattering at her feet. Her breathing came fast and sharp. Then she heard it again, the crying. The same soft sobbing she'd heard hours ago, only now it was louder. It was coming from the basement. Emily stared at the basement door, her chest tightening. The crying grew louder, almost desperate now. "Mommy, help me," a small voice cried. Her hand shook as she reached for the doorknob. "It's okay, Liam," she said, forcing her voice to stay calm. "I'm coming." She opened the door. Cold air swept over her, carrying a faint metallic smell. The stairs creaked as she descended, the beam of her flashlight barely cutting through the dark. The crying grew softer, almost whisper-like, echoing around her. When she reached the bottom, she saw the shape of a small figure standing in the corner. Her heart leapt. "Liam!" she gasped, rushing forward. The figure turned slowly toward her. It was a little boy, pale, thin, eyes completely black. Emily froze mid-step, every muscle in her body locking. The boy smiled. "You shouldn't have come down here," he said, in a voice that wasn't a child's voice at all. Before she could scream, the basement light exploded, Oded with a pop, plunging her into darkness. She felt cold fingers brush her face, and then something whispered inches from her ear. "Now, you'll stay too," Emily screamed, stumbling backward as the voice echoed through the basement. The flashlight rolled away, its light spinning wildly, catching flashes of old furniture, broken boxes, and something dark smeared on the concrete floor. She could feel movement around her, soft footsteps circling, whispering breaths brushing past her ears. "Who's there?" she cried, her voice cracking. "Liam? Mrs. Carter? Please." A cold laugh answered her from the darkness. "You shouldn't have come here, Emily." Her heart hammered in her chest. She grabbed the flashlight, its beam weak now, flickering on and off. When it steadied, she aimed it at the corner where the boy had stood, but he was gone. In his place was an old wooden rocking horse, rocking slowly back and forth, even though no one touched it. Emily took a step back toward the stairs, but then she noticed something on the wall, faded photos pinned up in a crooked line. She raised the light closer and gasped. Each photo showed a different babysitter, all smiling, all standing on the same front porch where she had stood earlier that night. And beneath each photo was a date. Every one of them ended the same year, except for the last photo. The last photo was of her. Her knees almost gave out. "No, no, no," she whispered, dropping the light. The beam flickered across to the floor, revealing something carved into the concrete near her feet. "She never leaves." The crying started again, but this time it came from all around her, above, behind, everywhere. The air grew thick, heavy, making it hard to breathe. She clutched her chest and staggered toward the stairs, desperate to escape. Halfway up, a small hand grabbed her ankle. Emily screamed, kicking hard, pulling herself free. She ran up the remaining steps, slammed the basement door shut, and leaned against it, gasping for air. The house was silent again. Too silent. Her flashlight flickered out, completed, a lie, leaving her in near darkness. Only the soft blue glow of the baby monitor lit the room. On the tiny screen, Liam was back in his crib, sleeping peacefully. Emily's eyes filled with tears of relief. "Oh, thank God," she whispered. Then the screen glitched. For a split second, Liam vanished, and in his place appeared the pale boy with the black eyes, smiling straight into the camera. The front door creaked open behind her. Emily turned slowly, her breath trembling. A woman stood there, soaked from the rain outside, her hair clinging to her face. It was Mrs. Carter. "Emily," she said softly, her voice trembling, "why are you here?" "What?" Emily stammered. You hired me. You asked me to babysit Liam." Mrs. Carter shook her head slowly. "No one lives here anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. "Liam died 5 years ago." Emily's lips parted, but no words came out. The baby monitor crackled again. On the screen, the boy smiled wider. Then, in that same whispering voice, he said, "She's lying." The monitor went black. The house lights flickered once, twice, then went completely dark. Mrs. Carter's voice broke through the silence, whispering, "He never lets them leave." Emily turned to run toward the door, but it slammed shut on its own with a deafening bang. The windows shattered, the lights exploded, and something cold and unseen wrapped around her wrist, pulling her backward. She screamed, clawing at the floor, but the darkness swallowed her whole. When the sun rose the next morning, the Carter house was silent again. The police found the door wide open and a flashlight lying at the bottom of the basement stairs. No one ever found Emily. Weeks later, a new family moved into the neighborhood. They said the house looked perfect until their babysitter showed up for her first night and noticed a photo hanging in the hallway. It was a picture of a smiling girl she'd never met before. The name written underneath it was Emily. And beneath that, a date had just been added, October 6th, 2025. If you enjoyed the babysitting job that turned into a nightmare, remember some stories aren't just stories. Some houses keep memories, and some memories keep you. Subscribe for more chilling tales, and whatever you do, if a babysitting job ever seems too easy, don't take it.